I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me, as always, on Mondays is my good friend, Michele Berra. Michele, what's up?
Well, it was not a nice Sunday. Like ending the day with that disaster of a game. But anyway, I think that these games are also very, very important and meaningful lessons that this team has to go through. I mean, it's a scar that I think, in the grand scheme of things, will be forgotten. But I think it is helpful to just discover that when you have a bad night and the worst team in the league by far has a great night, things can go south pretty quickly.
Yeah. The Thunder really pooped out of the toilet on this one, Michele. That's what I would have to say.
Yeah.
Really pooped right out of it. Yeah, it was bad. I mean, there were points. Shea was just really trying to drag this team back into it.
Yeah.
And there were some stretches where he was amazing. And he just, like, J-Dub had some good moments within the game too. Chet did early, and then everybody just thought this game was just going to be handed to them. They went up 10 basically, and then they thought, all right, Pistons are just going to roll over and die now, and we can just play however we want. And that was not the case. So Mark basically pulled everybody but Shea, and put in Kenrich and Jay Will, Keontae Johnson, and Wiggins, and it was just like, all right, these guys that I can count on to bring energy, let's put them in the game. And it worked to a degree at times, but honestly, once you let a team, and this is like an NBA lesson you have to learn, once you let a team get rolling, it is really tough to stop that. It's really, really tough to stop it. Even a team like the Pistons, who are one of the worst teams in the history of the league, they can still do it. It was fascinating, beyond fascinating to me, that Cade Cunningham was not in this game, and they played this well. And this is this is going to be their signature win. They are 6-40. I don't care how you spin it. This team is 6-40. They stink.
Yeah.
And that was a bad loss for the Thunder. Doesn't really change anything for the Pistons at all. It's cool win. But, the Thunder just have to, and some of it could be that they're looking ahead to Monday, where, hey, we got this early. And also, this is also a fact. Early games in the NBA are always weird. Weird things always happen. One of the early games that the Thunder played earlier this season was against the Denver Nuggets, who they play Wednesday, and they got shellacked by the Nuggets in an early game. So, you can sugarcoat this. You can say, well, just forget about it, whatever. I'm with you. You need to learn. They need to learn something, through this, and they don't need to not forget it. Don't just immediately forget this one. Go learn something from it, and tonight they play the Timberwolves. Anything can happen tonight. Just don't play like that. Is basically what you need to learn. Don't play like that again.
Or just don't have Scott Forster as your main referee. I hate talking about referees, but at a certain point in the game, said, "Oh, all right, there is nice." I mean, I think that to some degree there is a level of correlation between how many times you get deep into the paint and how many times you get to the line. And 12 for OKC had way more.
Five for Shea, who drove the ball just over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And there was definitely 2 or 3 times that I remember while I was watching the game thinking, wow, there's an absolutely a missed call right there. I mean, Shea is on the ground, missed a layup, and where's the whistle? There's that.
Yeah, and it was very wrong. I think that a charge was called in a very it was putting the shoulder down, and the exact same call was called in a different way, like 5 possessions later. It was very weird. Now it's not important because OKC, no matter what the referees do or don't do, you have to win the game. You
Mm,
have to win the game that is in front of you. But it was a very weird one. Like
mm,
I think that the most controllable thing that OKC has to do, it's not to triple team Jalen Duran and like just stay home on every shooter, including Bogdan Bogdanovic, who didn't have like a great game, but it could have been much worse. Uh,
mhm,
and I know that speaking about individuals is not always meaningful, especially after a game like this. But boy, oh boy, Giddy's defense was so atrocious that I
yeah.
don't want to even start discussing that. And Chet was not great on Duran as well. I mean, he was
Jet
not.
wasn't great. Jet was good early. I thought he was
Yeah,
actually really good early,
yeah,
as like the whole team was. But like he started to his effort started to wane a little bit. I agree with you. Giddy just had a bad game, like straight up. It was just really bad. Um,
yeah. And I mean, I get not playing Vava because I mean it's clear that back to backs are not really his thing. And playing 2 times in a span of 36 hours is not great. Um, but the flow of that segment unit was completely destroyed, and
mhm,
and it was clear. So I don't know how to cope with this. I don't know what are the solutions to this, but putting in a defense like that is to me really bad. Like
mhm,
I don't care what time of the day it is. I don't care. Like you have to be better than that. And there were
mhm,
moments where he played like defense for like 2 possessions at the beginning of the game and then just forget about doing that for the remainder of it. So
mhm.
it's at a certain point, this is this is something that's not good. And again, it's not just him. I mean, Dub didn't have a good game. Kaysen, after an amazing game against the Pelicans, it,
Mhm,
it was not okay last night.
mhm.
So it's also part of the story is missing a ton of wide open trees, which is
Yeah.
something that OKC doesn't do too much. But
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and still, they're 32-14. If you told me like, hey, they split the games on Friday and Sunday, like, would that be totally surprising? It wouldn't be totally surprising that they
you know,
split. The way they split it though was very surprising, like especially
yeah,
after just destroying the Pelicans,
yeah,
who
which was a
are
very
that's
hard game.
that's a good team on the
Yeah,
road. No, like no Zion, I get it, but even still, like we've seen that team be really tough without Zion. They played more games without Zion than they have with him over the
yeah,
course of his career, so it's not like anything new for them. So yeah, it was definitely jarring to see them do that, but they still sit atop of the Western Conference. They would have sole possession of it because the Timberwolves lost to the Spurs, but now they don't. Um, and they're tied again with the Timberwolves, which makes tonight just a little bit juicier
mhm,
because whoever wins this one, it'll determine who's number one in the West. It will determine, it could be one of the determining factors of who coaches the Western Conference All Stars, whether it be Mark or Chris Finch, and you
yeah.
know,
They are both really playing for that. I think.
yeah, which Mark might just be like, hey, you know what? 35 minutes for Davis Bertans tonight. Let's just see it. Let's see
Yeah,
what
which is
happens.
something that I really wanted to see against the Pistons. When nothing works, just sprinkle some Bertans in and see what happens.
Yeah, I
Can
mean,
it
he
be
tried some
worse?
stuff. I mean, Mark tried some stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, I know that you want some gritty guy out there, and this is why you put like um, some guys. But I
Keontae.
mean, Keontae Johnson, yeah. But like sprinkle in some Bertans. Make him take 5 threes in 5 possessions.
Hmm.
Like he can. I mean, at some point during the game, there were moments where OKC missed like 3, 4 wide open threes. I mean, Bertans doesn't miss 3, 4 wide open threes. You're not defending anyway, so just try it out, five
Yeah,
minutes, and see
yeah.
what
I mean,
happens.
it helped them in the Dallas game.
Yeah,
Earlier in the season. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Bertans is going to save the day for them. I think they're going to lose that game no matter what. I think
Mm,
the Pistons wanted it, and the Thunder, after the first quarter, just let go of the rope.
yeah,
You allow them to score 46 points in the second quarter. Davis
yeah,
Bertans is not helping you stop that. They may have scored 49 if you gave Davis a chance. You know,
yeah.
I,
That's
I think that
that's
game.
fair.
I think that game is probably. I mean, you play like that, ain't nobody's going to help you. Nobody.
Yeah,
It's just. I mean, it is what it is. It's 82 games is a lot of games. It's a lot of games, and to be perfect and to be the team that shows up and does the same things every night, like this team has been remarkably consistent,
hmm
I would say. And this is one of the moments where they slipped,
yeah,
and they would tell you as much that this
yeah,
is, they slipped, they were bad, they played poorly, and there's really just not a whole lot else to say. The Pistons played well too. Like the Pistons played really well in that game.
yeah. Durham
Yeah,
played extremely well, and also
Durant's great.
I said it already yesterday on the Thunder After Dark for the OKC Dream Team. But isn't it perfect, amazing that Killian Hayes is minus 14 in a game that Detroit won by 14? Like
Yeah.
that
That
guy is a tanking machine. I mean, I think that the record of the Pistons will be much, much better if he just doesn't play. Just
Oh, yeah.
punting
Well,
him to
especially
Europe.
now that they have Monty Morris back, it was a little surprising that he started. It's like you have Monty Morris and Marcus Sasser. Why does he have to play at all? He played 14 minutes. Why does he have to play at all?
Yeah, I
That
don't
would
know.
be my question to Monty Williams. It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah,
Even
he's Poku
even give
bad.
me Alec Burks, backup point guard minutes,
Yeah.
over that.
There is Sasser is a nice player. I mean, not one that will most likely be a starter in this league, but he competes. He's
Yeah,
nice. He's fine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He's
Just
fine. He can play.
don't play Killian.
Just don't play Killian. But play Moose. Moose hit that three. It was like I knew that ball was going in. The minute
Oh
that
yeah,
he let that thing fly, I knew the Moose was loose. I knew it
yeah,
was all over.
yeah. And OKC was climbing. They were down 4, and that 3 happened, and that's it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
another 3 of Mike Muscala's ruining OKC one way or the other.
That's right. That's right. I helped with a piece. James Edwards wrote a piece about the Pistons today. You should go check it out at The Athletic. And he proposed like a lot of different trades. One of them
Mhm,
was for Boyan Bogdanovic to the Thunder
mhm.
for Bertans and a first. It would be the Utah first for this year.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
Um, I don't hate it.
That's what I told him. It was like, hey, I think on paper this is a deal that makes sense for both teams because Bogdanovic, he's a really good player. I mean, he's just like straight up a really good offensive player. But think they would. I don't think they would do it, um, because like he's older. He's not a good defender. There's a lot of reasons that they wouldn't do that trade. But on paper, I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. And so I counteroffered and said, how about Poku in a second for Moose?
That I would do in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
Um,
and like let's be clear, there's a chance Moose doesn't play like at
yeah,
all, you
yeah,
know. But
but
just
it's Moose, and
give
he's
me
back.
Moose for the vibes. Just give me Moose for the vibes alone. I'll take
Yeah,
it.
it's a nice trade. I think that Boyan is someone that you can probably play in spots in the
Yeah.
postseason. I think that
Well,
defensively,
the thing for me that I said is like he hasn't taken less than 10 shots since 2016.
well, you have to remove Giddy from the equation if you want to get him space. He can start. It's not that he's going to defend less than
Yeah.
Giddy.
I mean, that's true. He was actually kind of good in some spots yesterday. Boyan
But
was.
yeah, I kind of
Yeah,
want
I mean,
Bogdan.
if you throw him in there as the extra as an extra shooter score, I
Yeah,
don't
can
know.
you
Like,
imagine the shots that he would get if he starts instead of Giddy?
it would be
Like
pretty
the quality
crazy.
of shots.
It'd be pretty crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if this is something that OKC will do.
I can tell you that, or not, I just don't think it's going to happen.
I would be very skeptical. But he's a better player than Bertans, and he makes so much
Oh yeah.
sense. And
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
he
mean, he's a much better player than Bertans. He can score off the
yeah,
dribble. He's got juice in the mid range. He can get to the hoop. He can do a lot of different things.
yeah.
But I don't think they would do it.
That said, I think that he will be targeted immediately in the postseason. Like he
Not a
can
doubt.
defend. Yeah, I'm more curious about like the Vava Boyan connection. I mean, it's
Yeah.
they're not from the same country. It's actually maybe it's a rivalry.
Could be.
Who knows? Yeah,
Could be.
they're sure. It's there's a huge rivalry between Serbia and Croatia, but it would be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I mean, he'd be a nice player, but I
Yeah.
just don't. I'd be surprised if that was the kind of guy they went for. I think they want somebody that can defend.
Yeah, that's a doable trade. Like, is that very different from Gordon Hayward? Forget about
You don't have to give up a first for Gordon Hayward.
yeah. I was saying, forget for a second about the first round pick, which is not something you like. Presti should forget about.
Can't forget about it. But
Yeah,
in a vacuum, would you rather have Boyan or Gordon Hayward? I mean, the
Boyan.
answer's Boyan. I mean, it's like not even
Exactly,
close. Yeah, it's
exactly.
not even close.
You can rely, I think, a little bit more on Boyan,
Definitely.
and I think it's something where if you give out, say, the worst of the picks that OKC has in next year draft, for example, I think that the Pistons will probably settle for something like this.
Oh yeah.
Is that terrible? Like
It's not
20,
terrible. I don't know.
28th pick in the draft? If
This
you
is why I
give
said
out the Utah one, it's a
yeah.
little bit better. If you gave out like the worst of the picks that OKC has, which I think it's a first. I mean, why Detroit should do it? Because why not? I mean,
They're already
you don't
giving
need
away the worst of their picks now. You'd have to give away
the second worst,
basically the Clippers pick.
which is the 27th.
Not 27th, but like maybe 22nd.
Are you sure? Are you sure that the Clippers will pick before the Thunder? I'm not, to be honest with you. I think the Clippers are the team that scares me the most.
The way they look now, sure, but like they've been healthier than they've been in years to this point. And like, do I
True.
believe that they're going to be healthy for the rest of this? If we got word from somebody from the future, the Clippers stayed healthy through the rest of the season, then yeah.
But how far can they drop? Like,
how far can they drop?
Yeah, 20 like this 22nd pick in the draft. Do you believe that is in the teens? I don't.
Not the teens. No. I was saying like 20th to like 23rd is
yeah, 23rd. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Like it's in play.
Yeah, but it's fine. Like it's not a pick that you should really be attached to unless you can put that in the future. So 23rd and Bertans for Boyan, sure.
Yeah.
The point is, what do you do with Giddey at that point?
I mean, they're not going to not play Josh Giddey. They would still start him. Boyan would come off the bench.
Then I'm less interested. Way less interested. I think that Boyan
definitely would.
Yeah, then I'm not interested in any trade that brings a starting level player for assets, because I think that you need to settle this thing before you move. Like, am I willing to start someone else instead of Giddey? If the answer is yes, then you do a trade. If the answer is no, then don't trade anybody at all, because it's not going to change. It's not that if you play a guy off the bench in this with this team will change dramatically what the outcome of playoff series is. If you think that you can start the guy or you can finish with the guy and play him like 30 minutes a night, then you're probably going to do it. But the best way to play such a guy is to start him.
I mean, to me, what you're talking about is a scenario where you would trade Josh.
Possibly.
I mean, to me, if you're going to not have Josh, if you're going to supplant, I just think that you're going to supplant Josh. He's due for an extension. Like to me, it's just like one. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that if it were me, I just kind of want to see what happens in the postseason first. But I don't think they're going to bring somebody in, keep Josh, and move Josh to the bench. Like I just don't see that happening. I do think it's not impossible, but it's highly, highly, highly unlikely that Josh gets moved.
Is he playing
highly.
like a starting level player in the league?
He's not.
Okay.
He's not. Has he played like a starting level player at times this season? Yes. Did he play like on last year? Yes.
Did he play starting level value against top teams in the West? The answer is no.
He played good against Denver.
Okay. Okay. Yes.
He played good against the Pelicans on Friday.
Yes. Okay.
He played really good. He's played well against some good teams. He has.
Okay.
Yes.
Starting well. Like starting level well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think I share the same opinion.
That's okay.
Was he a top 5 player for OKC on those nights?
Against Denver, yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. And we'll see. That's the kind of the beauty of this right now, Michele, is that like we're playing 2 of the top 4 teams in the West tonight and Wednesday. And I do think like it's not going to like, hey, Josh played bad against the Wolves and the Nuggets, they're going to trade him now kind of thing. Like,
no, for sure.
Like, I don't think that's the way it would work. But yeah, like he's got a lot to prove, he's got a lot to prove, and it's growing increasingly more tough for him because like the pecking order is being established above his head a little bit. And like, that's not really any of his doing. It's just that Shea and Dub and Chet are just that good. And so Josh, I give him a lot of credit because like we haven't heard him being dissatisfied with his role. He's taking less minutes. He's taking less shots. I mean, it's less of everything for him right now. And he's still showing up. He's competing. And, I feel for him a little bit just because this is not anywhere close to what, we thought this scenario would look like this year for him. And some of that is some of the stuff that's gone on off the court, but a lot of it is on the court stuff.
Yeah.
This has not exactly been his quote unquote dream scenario. And, you wonder to a point too, like, is this what he wants to sign up for when it comes to signing an extension? Like it's a two-way street with that. It's not just the team. And so I think it's going to be interesting. I don't think anything will happen with Josh in the next, 10 days.
This is an interesting angle though. Like, what if it's the opposite way? Where it's Josh that asks you, hey, can I get somewhere? I'm not playing here.
Would you be shocked to hear that? Like, I wouldn't be terribly shocked. I mean, you just read on the wall a little bit. And if you're him, you may want to go somewhere where you can prove yourself, prove your value a little bit to get a higher extension. Like
that's my point. I mean, I wonder if that changes the equation that we are thinking about, that we have in mind right now a little bit, where the Thunder move on just because it's there is a team that is interested and he wants to get away.
Yeah.
From this. I'm not sure which team.
To be clear, like none of this is all hypothetical. Like this is all out of the brains of Andrew and Michele. Like this is not.
Oh yeah, it's not sourced.
This is not something that's happening. It's just you just are putting pieces of the puzzle together. Like I think he thought he was going to be like the second best player on this team, you know, and he was last year. you know, he was that, and he's had good games, he's had bad games this season. It's been up and down, but it's an interesting one. And ultimately, like when it all settles, like it's not going to matter all of this. Like really doesn't even matter that much to me because of how good Shea, Dub, and Chet are. You
Yeah.
know, they are going to have to figure it out and make a decision or whatever. But ultimately, I think the most impactful thing that's going to happen with the Thunder over the course of the next few years is that Shea, Dub, and Chet get to play together more, and they get older, and they get more
Yeah.
experienced, and they get to play playoff series together. Like that's going to be the thing. And maybe Josh shows up. I mean, and maybe I'm referencing this too much, but I just also just wonder. Like I think if it were me too running the front office, I would have a genuine curiosity as to what it would look like with Josh in the lineup because he played. I mean, he was the second best player in that play-in game where they won the game in New Orleans. And so I would have a genuine curiosity about him because he shows up in games that are meaningful, and he can be a guy that just is ultra competitive. And so I would have a genuine curiosity about what that looks like once you get to the playoffs. We haven't. I mean, Josh Giddey's never played a playoff game before. His team has never played a playoff game together. Like, what does it look like? Because guys will show up, and there will be guys that won't. And sometimes it'll be surprising. Like Dub wasn't great in that play-in game. And I know he's a rookie and he's a better player than he was.
Yeah.
He's a better player today than he was then, and all that. But like Josh showed up. Like I don't know. So to me, I still think this is like a wait and see kind of thing. But I can understand both sides of it. Like I can understand if somebody was like, "Hey, you should trade Josh now to get value because I just don't see the fit." Like I see that, but I think I lean a little bit more toward like let's see it because I know competitively he's going to show up, and
Yeah,
I want
sure.
to see what it
And,
looks like.
and to be completely fair, my thinking was getting a starting level player and not starting him. To me, it's not worthy. It's not necessarily that I think that Boyan will
Yeah,
change, but I think that it would be very, very bad to get a player like that and not starting him because I
yeah.
think that you bring away a little bit of the value that they are providing.
Mhm.
And there's a nice comment in the chat from Grey Babe, who's saying that not many starting players have 12, 6, and 5 on 46, 33, and 81. Yes, that is absolutely true. Josh is a player that can pass the ball. He has improved a little bit on the shooting department, especially the free throw, and is surely rebounding. The point to me is thinking if that is a byproduct of the way in which OKC plays and the role in which he plays, because 6 rebounds as a 4-man um, in the unit, it's not a really interesting number. And the 5 assists to me are a byproduct of how OKC plays and how much those guys have the ball in their hands. Then Josh is a very nice player. But my point is, take a guy like Boyan. He will do other things. Is that better or worse for OKC? It's not the fact that Josh can be a starting level point guard in this league. It's
Mhm.
can he be a starting level player in OKC, which is a different thought in my head because the thing that he provides, which are rebounding, passing, and cutting, are skills that OKC has in other players. And it's not mathematically true that like the possessions he's taking now are handled in the best way that OKC can possibly have. This is my thinking, and it was last year and 2 years ago about is Josh the best player to maximize whatever OKC wants to do. And I still
Yeah.
have the question. I had like very serious questions about Dort, and I was very wrong up until this year, where it dramatically changed the way in which he's playing.
Mhm.
So uh, would I trade Giddy? I don't know. I say it again. If I bring in for value, like for like a real asset, a starting level point guard to me, or starting level player, sorry. To me, the choice is, hey, I want to start a player and see how that goes. If I take like Cam Johnson, to me is, hey, I'm going to start him. It's not, yeah, I get him and I play him Isaiah Joe minutes. No, no, no. This to me is going to bring very little value, if at all, some value.
Yeah.
So
I think you're illustrating the kind of player that I think will be brought in at the trade deadline, if anybody is. And it's
yeah,
probably somebody that is not. I would guess like the likelihood of it being somebody that does hold starter value is pretty low. And that it's more of somebody to like fill in the gaps off the bench. Because I think they have guys that can come in, and if maybe they play a series where it's just like, hey, this is not a Josh Giddey series, which I think is totally possible. Then I think they have guys on the bench already that you feel comfortable taking those minutes. You know, Kenrich being one of them, Wiggins being another one of those guys. Obviously, Casey Wallace. Like you have guys that you can turn to in those moments. I think just having like one additional player would be nice because those guys are going to play anyways, the ones that I mentioned. And, you know, just to have one other guy that perhaps like Casey Wallace isn't ready, which like most rookies aren't ready to play in the playoffs. Like that's just the thing. And so, yeah. I mean, Kenrich hasn't played a playoff game.
Yeah.
You know,
that is weird.
It feels weird to say and think about because he seems like a guy who would have, but he's never played a playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
what do you think about?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think about like Durant completely dominating the Thunder front court, like completely dismantle, rebounding wise, posting up?
I thought he brought tremendous energy. I thought that he got really good positioning. Like he sealed them really low.
Yeah, he was taking deep paint position. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he did great. You know, I think their defense was bad, like bad as can be. And this is the thing with the Thunder defense is that if it's not sharp, then you can tell right away, and it's gonna be bad. You know, it's either
it's gonna be how many shots they will make.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's going to be as good as the 3-point percentage of the opponents, which was great and so terrible against the Pistons.
Yeah, they can be better on Duran. Like Duran's a very, very talented player, very athletic. You know, like there's a lot of things to like about Duran for sure. You know, in the first game that they played 23 minutes, had 8, 7, 1 assist, 1 steal.
Yeah.
You know, and they were sharp that night. You know, they played really sharp basketball that night. And they were in the game from start to finish, and they took him out of the game. And they can do that to bigs that are like that don't shoot it. But someone that's physically imposing, that's playing harder than you, getting deep paint position, doing all the little things when you're not willing to do all the little things, like he'll do that to you. I mean, that will happen. And so I don't know. I don't think a whole lot about it because Durant's the starting center on a team that's 6-40.
Yeah.
So like one night only. Congrats. Shake his hand. Tell him good job. Doesn't mean a whole lot. Doesn't mean a whole lot to me. Like that team still stinks. He's part of the reason why their defense isn't very good. Still, like he's got a lot to learn as a player. But any given player can do a lot of things. You know. So I don't know.
No, I'm not trying like major conclusions. I think that when OKC plays like that, there is either they do it collectively or they don't. And sometimes I wonder how much a guy that can match their biggest guy on the floor physicality could help in situations like this. Because against the Pistons, you just don't care. But if it happens, I mean, it didn't happen against Valanciunas. Chet was insanely good against him.
Hmm.
Um, and the team in general was good. Like the Pels missed quite a good amount of wide open shots, and OKC defense like was way more effective than what it usually is. I
Yeah.
wonder if in a like what happens if you can't find a solution to some guy physicality in a playoff game. What is your go-to move? Is it Kenrich? Is it Dub? What are you doing? Do we have an
Playing
answer
harder than
to
you just
that?
did. Like, you're just playing harder than you did, and you are getting
Yeah.
steals, and you are pushing the ball. You're just playing better basketball than you were
Mhm.
yesterday. Yesterday, there was a lot of selfish basketball played on the part of
Yeah.
the Thunder. You
And
don't do
lazy basketball, I would say.
you don't do that. Yeah, lazy, selfish. It was just like we'll just show up, we'll just do it. I don't know. I mean, I think they're going to do what they've done, and we've seen it. Like we saw it against the Timberwolves, where they just decided like we're not playing any big guys. We don't care. The
Yeah.
only big guy we're playing
But
is
they're
Chet.
not as physically imposing down low, those two guys. I, I,
So
I
who
think that the
are
best example
you
is against Jokic, where somehow with J Will and Chad together, they they were able to to have Jokic not really being extremely dominant. But that
Mm-hmm.
was one of the few games in which we saw that happening and actually coming to fruition. So
Yeah.
I was just wondering if this is something that still we need to keep in our minds. Like, what is the avenue when you can't because you have an I mean, say that the opponents are shooting well. It's not that you really can't double a big man, which is something that they do. Um, and so I wonder. I'm not saying that you should get a big man just because Doran killed you. It's not the point. My point was
Mm-hmm.
whenever it happens that you can't keep up physically. One avenue is, as you mentioned, play hard, try to double sometimes, try to create turnovers. But when you can't, and it happened like a few times, it happened against AD, it happened against Embiid, it happened in a few against Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
How do you scheme up this? What do you do? Like, what is the is it mandatory to see a solution right now, to have a solution right now, or is something where you would much rather look at everything through the playoff lenses before you make a move? Because I think that it's clear that this thing is something that creates issue to OKC. I wonder if this is something that it's worth taking some insurance on um, instead of waiting.
Yeah. I mean, maybe so. I tend to think that they're gonna play the way they want to play. And they played Jokic 3 times. Once they got destroyed. The other 2 times, Jokic was a -9 and a -19 and plus minus.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that is
like to me, if I'm the Thunder, like my question is like, what big guy? Obviously, you're going to be afraid of Jokic, no matter if you have another big guy or not. You
yeah.
know, like he's amazing whether you have run of the mill big or not. Like it just doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say I would go. I don't know. I would go. I would just keep going the direction that they're going.
Mhm.
Is what I would do, and not worry about it too much because they've frankly just been amazing. So, what do you think about tonight? How you feel about the game tonight?
I feel conflicted. I really want to see them playing in a different way with different energy. But I also worry about the first home game after what it feels like a road only month.
Yeah,
It's going to be tough, and it's going to be a game that Mini has prepared with a lot of care.
yeah.
They are in a similar spot in terms of like perplexing losses.
Hmm.
So it's I'm curious. I'm curious to see how the lineups with Kenrich at the 5 are working again against a team like the T Wolves. As of late, it's been on and off with those units. It's not like at the beginning of the year where those were the units where wow, you see really the Kenrich impact.
Mhm.
It's not been like that over the past few weeks, I would say. So I'm very curious to see how that works tonight. And I wonder who's going to bounce back. Is it Jay Will? Is it Chet having a monster night after having like a stinker against the Pistons? And what about Vava? Like, was
Probably play.
he just rested for this game? Is he going to play 15, 20 minutes? He's not a guy that I think it's used maybe at 20% of his capabilities. And I really wonder, like, what happens if you play Vava with good players, not with just the second unit? What happens if you play him a little bit with Shea? What happens if you finally give him some spot up opportunities, which is something that he used to do with a 40 plus percentage rate in the EuroLeague? Like, I think he's a guy that can do way more.
Mhm.
And I wonder how much of those stat line that we were discussing before about Giddy can Vava do with the same amount of minutes? Like, is
He's
he
not the
that far?
rebounder. He's not the
Yeah,
rebounder.
I know. He's not a great rebounder.
He's not a good rebounder.
Yeah, probably so. He played in a different role in Europe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's a nice player. I mean, he's a fun backup point guard. I'm probably
I
after
think
watching
he's
him,
more than that.
I'm a
But
little I think I'm a little lower on him than you are, but
yeah, I know.
he's fun. Like he's a fun player. He's been pretty good for them. He's been pretty helpful.
I'm just a fan of things that make other things works better, which is something that Vava does.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think he has been very helpful to this team. I mean, you look at his on-off stats with the Thunder, which oh man, I'm not logged in to clean the glass. I had to restart. I had to do this really annoying update on my computer today that took so long. It was just outrageous, and now I'm like logged out of everything. Okay,
Yeah.
on-offs. He is still the on-off king for the
Hmm.
Thunder at a plus 14. You know who's
Yeah.
number two? You know who's number two?
Isn't it Shay?
It's Shea plus 10.
Yeah. Then
Isaiah,
Joe.
Isaiah Joe plus 7. Kenrich plus 3. Those are the only guys that are plus.
Yeah.
Jay Will minus 0.1. Oos minus 2.5. Lou minus 3.5. Dub minus 3.8. Casey Wallace minus 5.3. Chet 5.4. Giddy 5.9. Wiggs minus 6.5.
Hmm.
Then you have the guys that just don't play a lot.
Yeah,
Bertans
it's
15.
normalizing a lot. Dub was
Po-
-7 like couple of weeks ago.
yeah,
Those
true.
units are like he of the past, I would say 15 games, he has been like wildly positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's been better recently. Bertans is a plus 15.3. Trey Mann's a plus 22. What's Poku?
Yeah.
What's Poku? Give
Minus 17.5.
lower.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. I don't know. Minus 22.5.
lower,
Minus 27.5.
lower.
Come on, it can't be possible.
I mean, it's only in 4 minutes, basically.
Minus 41.5.
Lower.
Okay. My guesses are over. Minus 56.5.
Now it's higher. Minus 49.8
Okay.
in 4 minutes.
Nice.
I mean, we
Nice.
always knew Poku was either going to be the best player in the world or the worst one, and
Yeah.
it's unfortunate where where this has led us because I love Poku. It's just funny. I mean, it means nothing. I mean, like to be clear, it means nothing because he hasn't played
Of
enough to
course.
like say anything. Also, the dude was looking sturdy the other night. That's all I got to say. The dude looked completely sturdy. You
Yeah.
try to put that guy over, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's a big
I
sturdy boy.
wonder I wonder what happens over the next few years with Poku.
Probably
He's
goes back.
probably like
Probably
back to
goes back
Europe.
to Europe and like has a really nice career over there, and you know maybe comes back and is you know I don't know. I don't know. I love Poku. I wish him the best. Hope it all goes great for him. That's all I want. Okay, Thunder play tonight in Oklahoma City. They play the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight. They have the Denver Nuggets on Wednesday, and then they get Charlotte Friday. It's a very interesting week, and I am so curious to see how these first two games go. These are big time matchups for OKC. We're finally done with this devastating January schedule after Wednesday, and get a bit of a reprieve in the month of February, where like even before the All-Star break, they get a full 3 days off, on the road, which is just like, wow, they didn't have 3 days off the whole month of January.
And we felt it mightily. I mean, the schedule is brutal.
Culminated in a brutal loss on a Sunday afternoon to the worst team maybe in the history of the league. So
yeah, it's true.
Yep. So okay. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Please, hey, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Got some fun shorts that are up there, some good content there. You can also just watch us talk. If you like to watch people talk, you can do that. Please hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button right now if you're watching. We got quite a few people watching live, so be sure to hit the like button before you exit out of the screen. More shows coming this week. A possible extra show this week, so be ready for that. I've got my fingers crossed it's going to happen, so we'll see. Trade deadline week from Thursday, so we'll be talking more trade stuff as we go through this week and next, and we will have emergency pods right here on the YouTube channel if something happens. So be prepared. You can hit the bell, you can subscribe and hit the bell. That will let you guys know when we go live, so you'll never miss an episode of Down to Dunk on YouTube. Anything else before we go, Michele? Hopefully the Thunder don't poop out of the toilet tonight.
I want this becomes a way to say, at least in the Oklahoma metro area, by 2026. We need to spread the word, like pooping out of the toilet.
Yeah, maybe we can make a shirt. Poop out of the toilet shirt.
Poop. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. All right. You guys have an awesome day. We'll talk to you guys again on Wednesday.